Perfect.
Got one shot left, 800 yards, 45-mile-an-hour winds. 223. Let's make this last shot count. Impact. Oh, that was a good hit. There we go. Last hit of the day. Alright, so the first time through, I'm pretty sure you couldn't hear any of that because I couldn't hear it, and the semis were super loud behind me. I'll try to wait until it's a little quieter so you can at least hear the hits. Hopefully you can hear that. I'll wait for this car to go by and I'll try to hit it at the very bottom of the target. That's about as loud as it can go. Let's go take a look at the other one. We'll do a little comparison. We'll talk about some old optics and why I went to these. So I'll waste 3 on that, but it gives you the idea anyways. All right, so here's what I'll say about these optics. First of all, on the Savage here, this was the first model I bought, and I got it for a great deal. Just a wonderful Christian man from down south, runs a ministry down there, and the fella was off in some of his optics, and he had plenty of them. And so he gave me just an awesome deal for these because he knew I was a pastor, and I just think that's cool that somebody would have a heart to do that, because honestly I couldn't afford them at the full price. They're a good optic, they're worth it, but I couldn't afford them. So used, but barely used at all on both of these from the same gentleman. I'm pretty happy about that. So I'll just talk you over some of the details after the semi. So first of all, the optic is that big. It's that big right there. You can look up the specs, the details online about length and weights and that kind of thing. I'm more interested in the performance of it on the guns that I'm running on. And first and foremost, I will say when I got the optic, I took it out of the package and I was like, ooh, that's a little heavy. It's big, it's cool, it's 34 mil. It's my first 34 mil tube optic, if I can speak. And I was running SWFAs before that, a fixed 10, a fixed 12. And in fact, I still run the fixed 10 on my AR. I'm pretty happy with them. They're a great optic. I think they probably have declined in capability over time. It sounds like SWFA was maybe rushing things towards the last couple years, which is unfortunate. I did have one that I had to send back, and that bothered me. I heard that the internals were just super bomb-proof on these XTR2s, that there were some revisions from the XTR ones, and that they're worthwhile. So, again, the turrets, the housing and things like that, there's going to be 2 little retainer pins of a sort that engage that brass housing. It does have a 0 stop on the elevation. It was the first optic I've had with a 0 stop, and actually I really like it. Sometimes I used to prefer being able to dial down a couple clicks, but I can just hold a couple clicks. It's not that big of a deal. The minimum parallax setting is 50 yards. It's definitely a down feature to me. I want 25 as a minimum, especially on my 22 rifle, because I can't really use this in NRL now, 22 competition. The minimum target distance is 25 yards, and this has a 50-yard parallax, and it does make a big difference. It really throws you off. But 50 yards is pretty good for any centerfire rifle, truly. The illumination is daylight bright. It goes up to 11. The first several settings are only functional really at dusk, or when it's fairly dark. But you get about 8 through 11, it's great. But I rarely shoot with illumination when it's this bright out. It's a hot day in Minnesota today. It's like 35 degrees in December, which is really odd. Sun's out. Parallax seems to be good. It's got a good resistance to it, but not too much, not too little. I really like the setting of where it's at. Not sure how much of a difference that makes, but you can feel it engaging, so it feels quality, I guess. By the way, the rings that they're sitting in are millet steel rings, and I thought that was appropriate to go with steel just for things in the future that have a little more recoil, but certainly not needed here. The reticle level here is MK Machining, by the way, in case you're curious. I did go ahead right away and buy a couple cattails for them. Can't remember the brand, can't remember where you get them, probably eBay. But I bought a couple cattails for them right away just so that I could switch view a little smoother. I never do it real fast, real hard, because I think that's bad for your optic, probably. Optics just aren't as tough as people think they are, and so you want to be relatively smooth, but I don't have to grab it the same way. I can just kind of push the cattail over. So I really like that addition. The knurling that was there was pretty good. It was just a little firm, though, to go back and forth. It was a little firmer than I like. The rear eye focus for the reticle itself is just fine. It comes with these caps, and Burris has the flip-down caps that they won't just stay here like your crappy Butler Creeks. They'll go down. The truth is, though, I've already broken off a pair of some of them, and so they're not rigid enough. I think I might just go scope coats as soon as I ruin this pair. I don't care. I'll stuff a scope coat in my pocket and just be cool with it that way. What else? As far as elevation goes, I'm getting about 14 and a half. I'm not sure why that is. It's the way that my scope is zeroed, I think, on the two rifles. I'm getting about 14 and a half mils of elevation, which is really not enough for the 22. It is enough for the Savage, for the things I'm doing. I will not be shooting it beyond 1,000 yards, I don't think, ever. Unless I'm out in the Dakotas again, and it probably isn't going to be that far. So I'm fine with that amount for this. And for the 22, like I said, that's about 10 mils less than I want. I want about 24 mils, 25 mils, if I'm stretching it out there pretty good on those windless days. As far as windage goes and tracking and all that, it is perfect. It's flawless. It is 100%. I am so happy to be able to say that, because I was nervous. When you spend, at least double for a used optic like this, double from the SW Phase I was buying new. So it's, I bought these for around $600, which is a steal. You get nervous about that tracking, though. You don't want to buy something that you're going to be dialing around a lot on, and then it sucks. And these are really good. They're awesome. I guess I would have to say perfect. I have zero problems with the tracking at all. When I've done my box tests, and I do them kind of a lot, it's a little bit obnoxious that I probably do them that much. And I use the Savage with the premium ammo, because this one shoots 1/4-inch groups or tighter. Today I shot a 1/8 5-shot group. It's probably the best shot and best group I've shot in, 6 months with the rifle. So super stoked about that. This rifle shoot tight groups. And when I do a box test, the scope is exactly on. I did take a painstakingly long time to make sure everything is mounted upright, it's level, and it's exactly, level when I'm shooting it. All those kind of things. But it looks really, really good. I'm very happy with tracking. So you're good there. It's got a thicker, the material it's made out of, the aluminum, it's a little thicker on the walls than most scopes are, which makes the glass a little bit smaller. Not a big deal, it just means it's a tough optic. I haven't had any serious drops with them yet, and I'm glad, because I'm not looking to send it back, but I think their warranty is good. I think they'll take care of you if you break one of these optics. You're looking at a 50mm objective. That's as big as I care to get. I haven't seen any evidence that 56 is the big advantage there for light collection. I think 50 is about as much as you get. What else? I would say light and that kind of thing is good, but when we come to glass clarity, if you've ever shot on like a Steiner or something like that, I think these are the same glass, actually. I think like the exact same glass in these optics, and so it's very decent. It's not amazing, and I have to be honest about that. When I'm when I'm shooting this thing, every once in a while I'm wondering if I'm getting snow mirage or heat mirage. Then I realize I haven't shot that many rounds, or I look at the wind and it's not the mirage, it is the clarity of the glass at max power. If I crank this 220 power, it's definitely usable. I can see my holes, I can use it for spotting. I just wouldn't shoot a whole lot of groups like that. When I shoot tiny little groups with my 22 here at 200 yards, I shoot at about, I think that's about 18 power is the max that I really want to take it to, and that's for tiny little targets. Like I have a shotgun shell out there that I put the long way in a piece of cardboard, and I want to shoot the primer out of the center of the shotgun shell. I turn it up to 18 power, and that matches the reticle in the first focal plane just right for about the size of targets I'm trying to hit. And not any higher than that, because the fogginess, the lack of clarity around the edges is just a little obnoxious. I don't love that, but it's kind of to be expected in entry-level optics from what I understand. It looks great at 4 power, by the way, so everything from 4 up to 18 looks really, really good. I'm very happy with that, and so that's the range that I'm using anyways, no problems. Overall, I think the scope could be a little shorter. It's only a 20x, but it's kind of long. Who cares? I guess it's not a big deal. If you're into the lightweight game, this is not the optic for you, I'll tell you that. But the kind of things that I'm doing, look at the rifles that it's on, look at the kind of groups I'm getting. When I had the SWFA, I was limited to a degree because of, I would have to say, just the lack of magnification. The parallax setting on that, using the rear parallax adjust, it's just a little funky, and I didn't seem to be as proficient with that. Running a side parallax adjustment on this one, and just having high magnification to really check your parallax, it seems to have assisted in that way. What else could I say? I suppose more magnification is not going to make you a better shooter. That's true. But I have to admit, my groups tightened up quite a bit. From when I was shooting at 10x, and I would make the targets appropriate size for shooting at 10x, I could shoot pretty tight. I could shoot like half-inch groups and things like that occasionally, but now I'm shooting regularly 3/8 inch groups, and I would attribute that to 3 things. Practice, a lot of ammo, sure. A little bit of an upgrade in the bipod. I'm shooting off the Magpul bipod. It's much more consistent, and the loading is just easier for me. And so the other bipod that I was shooting was this UTG bipod. Not as consistent. I do have a little bit of trouble with that, and I'll probably upgrade on this 22 at some point. So that was another thing. And then lastly, I do have to admit that the optic, the tracking, and the magnification really did help me a lot. I feel like I just can't deny that there's some correlation there. Maybe it's not causation, but it's some sort of correlation that I'm seeing my groups dramatically shrink over time when I'm shooting at different distances, and I know what I should be doing for performance-wise for groups. I'm just seeing a big change. And again, I'm not going to say directly that it's magnification, heavy magnification, but I think it plays a factor in when you're shooting those tiny little groups. Now, if I'm shooting steel and I'm shooting targets on the move and things like that, and I want a little field of view, or I don't want my target to be too big or I'm getting lost in it, then I definitely back off the magnification on these, and I'm very happy to shoot it back on 6 or 7 power again. That's awesome. Looks very good. It's a great field of view. The reticle now with the G2B, this is my final point I'll finish on. The G2B is not my first choice. I wanted something along the lines of the some sort of grid reticle. I won't say it has to be any particular one, but some sort of grid reticle that has a little bit of windage holds and a tree of some sort. Athlon has really popularized a few, among other ones, Night Force, and most people are using some sort of tree. And Burris has one called the SCR in mil and MOA. And these are mil, by the way. I should mention that. Both mil. I'm not a big fan of MOA. But they do an SCR reticle. I think I would prefer that reticle a little bit more than the G2B, but there is a price difference, so I was more than happy to go with these. You're going to have a mil dot, and then a half slash, and a mil dot, and so you get 5 in the reticle in each direction. It's kind of plain, it's kind of basic. And I like the SWFA, the modified one they have with the diamonds. That's a fantastic reticle. The lines are pretty thin. These end up getting a little bit thick. Not too thick though, just a little bit thick. And so I kind of prefer the reticle of the SWFA, to be honest, because it's got a huge drop. It gives you an extra 10 mils all the way down the reticle in the glass there, and it's very functional. It's fantastic. You have 100% tracking reliability with that kind of reticle any day of the week. These are 100% tracking true, but the reticle is only going to allow me about 4 mils. So with this, that's not too much of a trouble for me. I can get out to some decent distance with 4 or 5 mils of hold, but with this guy, if I'm trying to hold, that 4 mils only gets me out a little past 100 and I want to say like 175 yards or something like that. It doesn't get me very far, and so I end up dialing a lot, and it would just be so much more usable, I guess is my point, if they had expanded that reticle all the way across, done some wind holds, not caliber specific, just milliradian wind, you know, marking points, tracking points of some sort. So that's kind of all I have to say about the Optic. If you have more questions, go ahead, post it down below. Fit and finish of the Optics were fantastic. Like I said, the gentleman who sent them to me, they were hardly used or just very, very well taken care of, to say the least. The only thing that is a downside here is maybe the length, maybe the weight, and maybe you don't like the way that you reset the 0 on the rifle with the 2 pins. They're really tight is all it is. That could be maybe a downside, but honestly, I have a hard time finding downsides of this. There weren't many reviews, so I thought I would throw my 2 cents into the mix, even though they've been out for a while. I say go buy one, especially if you can get it used. Check out Arms List. Gun Toting Minnesotan. Love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, checking things out. I pray the Lord bless you this Christmas season if I don't make another video. And if you have questions about anything or something you want to see reviewed, comment down below. See you later.